Hello, I'm Rayuta Kikutani. Today, I'd like to talk about the single key to learning from others and being loved by others. Some people learn a lot from someone they meet, but some people learn nothing. What makes the difference? There are people who are loved by others, and also there are people who are hated. What sets them apart? In fact, there is only a single thing that sets them apart. People who can learn from others and people who cannot. People who are loved by others and people who are not. It all depends on whether or not you can do the one thing. Therefore, people who can do it can learn a great deal from others and are also loved by others. If you don't do it, you'll never learn from others and people will never like you. Let's say you are alone in a car with someone for 4 hours traveling on the highway and you have a meal at a rest area along the way. There are situations where you may or may not learn something from someone. There's a big difference in life between those who can learn and those who can't. In the last 4 hours, have you been able to make a good impression on the person, and did he or she get interested to know more about you? Or maybe you've made him feel like he has had enough and he'd better keep some distance from you. This is also an important point for our happy life. Today, I would like to talk about one point of difference between the two. From a Buddhist point of view, the person who can learn from others and the person who is loved by others both have to do with whether or not they are able to achieve the single point. I'd like to talk about what that is all about. Here are today's contents. First, find the good in others. Second, Obako. Third, a man will die for someone who understands him. Let's get started. Find the good in others. There is a phrase often used in business and management books, find the good in others. It's about discovering the person's strengths or good points and focusing on them. In fact, the people who can do this are the ones who can learn from others and are adored by others. So, people who can discover and focus on people's strengths are the ones who can learn and are adored. This is the single point. Let me start with why people who can discover someone's strengths or good points can learn from others. And of course, the person who can do this would be wanting to learn from others. If you can find in someone something that is better than yourself, or something that you want to follow, you will naturally want to learn from that person. Whether or not you can discover a person's strengths when interacting with them is the key to being able to learn from others and grow. If left unchecked, we tend to see flaws in others. We find the flaw instead of the strength. We see someone's shortcomings, the things that he or she doesn't do or can't do. You don't have to discover this. You can see it naturally when you interact with them. It's human nature to see people's flaws or shortcomings. This is something we can only do if we keep it in mind and make an effort. But this is something anyone can do. Human nature is an aggregate of blind passions, or bon no. Of all 108 blind passions, big ones are the 6 major blind passions. One of them is conceit or arrogance. It is the mind of conceit. It's also called the prideful mind. And conceit is the mind that looks down on others. It is with the mind of conceit that we look down on others and say, that person is no good. She is not doing it as well as I can. With the prideful mind, you are proud of your ability to do things, and you look down on someone who can't do things. For example, some people who can make quite a lot of money and have a high income look down on those who do not make much money. People who can make a lot of money look down on those who are not good at making money. Rich people often say things like, they are not so smart, or they are stupid. I often see and hear about rich people looking down on those who can't make much money. Or someone who is good at socializing looks down on someone who is awkward and bad at socializing. They say things like, why would she say something like that at a time like this? She doesn't understand how people feel. Or an honest and frank person looks down on someone who is not honest, saying that they are not sincere and honest. After all, we are all conceited human beings. Every time we interact with someone, we see what others can't do in contrast to what we can do, and focus on what they can't do. This is human nature. So, unless we are conscious of it, we tend to see flaws in others. You can't find the good in others unless you're very mindful and willing to fight the mind of conceit. If I ask you to tell me the shortcomings or weak points of people around you or in your office, I think I'd get quite a few. Then, if I ask you to tell me the strengths of the people, can you say it like the way you do when you tell me their weaknesses? Especially when it comes to someone you don't like. If you are asked to tell me their strong points, you may even wonder if they have any. Or if you listen to the conversations of 3 or 4 businessmen gathered at a pub, or of a group of small business owners, you will find that most of them are talking about the faults of those who are not there. When 4 people are sitting around a table at a pub, if you listen closely, you can hear what they are saying. It's usually about their boss not being able to do that, or some person not understanding that thing at all. So to speak, it's condescending remarks. Or when they talk about how the young people of today or their team members are not able to do something, they are looking down on the young people. There is almost no such a thing as talking for 30 minutes or an hour at a pub about what they want to learn from someone. So you can see how difficult this is. So it's not easy to find people's strengths and pay attention to them. But the reality is that people definitely have their strong points that you don't. It is an undeniable fact that people have strengths that you don't have. So we just don't see it. Discovering it and paying attention to it is the key to being able to learn from others. People who can do those things naturally feel like wanting to learn. Obako. There is a plant called obako or plantain. A lot of them grow in front of the house where I used to live. But I didn't know the plant was called obako. I used to always pull it out, but it's pretty hard to pull out the plant. I used to call it weed at the time. I was pulling it out, saying, "Oh, this weed again," but it wasn't just weed, it had the name obako. I had a lot of obako in my garden, so it was very hard to pull them all out. In fact, the plant not only has a name, but also has medicinal properties like a water pill and a cough medicine. Once seemingly good for nothing, weeds can be used as a medicine. Maybe there is no such thing as a worthless weed in the world. A well-known doctor of Chinese medicine says there's no grass that doesn't have a medicinal value. Even the most toxic grass is said to be a potent remedy. So there is no such thing as worthless weed. Likewise, among people we interact with, there is no single person that we can't learn something from. As with the example of obako, there is no such thing as boring grass in the world. We could say what is boring is the mind of the person that sees the grass as nothing more than a weed. Likewise, you don't have to necessarily say someone is just boring, or you can't spend a productive time with them. There's something to be learned from every person. You can always try to learn something from someone, learn more about them, or incorporate their ideas. Even if you only have 4 hours with the person, there will be quite a difference in results between those who have this perspective and those who don't. We are in contact with many different people every day, so it is only natural that there is a huge difference in the lives of those who are willing to learn through people. There was something that impressed me recently. He's about 10 years younger than me and has just turned 40, but he says that his motto is to give first. It's not often that someone says something like this. He is only 40 years old, but he says he makes it his motto to give first. I know some people have give and take as their motto. When they get something, they give something in return. Many of us probably have a sense that it's rude to keep receiving something and giving nothing in return. It's hard to find people who say, "I make it my motto to give first." I was impressed by the fact that he verbalized the idea of giving first and made it his motto. That is not easy to do at the age of 40. After hearing that, I wanted to ask him why he felt the way he did at the age of only 40 and why he decided to make that his motto. I wanted to hear the story behind how he came to think that way. When I asked, he explained it to me. He said someone he respected greeted him first, always gave him good information, and even introduced him to all kinds of people. He was supposed to introduce him to someone and give him good information, but he kept giving him more and more of it. He told me that this man is a successful person who keeps expanding his network and that he wants to be like him. And through the interaction, man has become a role model for him. We can learn so much about that man too. So, when you discover these strengths in someone, you want to dig deeper into what makes him the person he is, and you learn more and more. It would be such a waste if you were to end up spending the same 3 or 4 hours only to brag about yourself. There is a word for the kind of person who only finds faults in others: fake composure. Fake composure means that you feel you are okay because you keep looking at what others cannot do and what you can do, but you stop growing. It is easy to fall into this. We must be careful. A man will die for someone who understands him. So far, I have told you that people who can discover the strengths in others can learn from them. And people who can do that are also loved and adored by others. Naturally, a person who only looks at the faults of others will not be looked up to. The state of your mind is expressed in your words and body. If you find something good about someone and pay attention to it, the words in your mind will naturally come out. When you want to learn from someone, you listen to their opinion, observe their work, and have respect for them, which naturally changes the way you treat them. This is also true when supervisors deal with their team members. If you are the supervisor, you will have to interact with them in various situations. If you can recognize and focus on the strengths of your team members and the great things they do, that will show up in your attitude or words you use. They can feel it. This will make your team members want to look up to you as their boss. In fact, people will like and adore a person who discovers and recognizes their values much more than someone who just gives them money. We like people who give us money for sure, but more than that, we really like people who recognize us or appreciate and discover something that we take pride in. You could say this is human nature. The reverse is also true. If you are an employee working for your boss and you appreciate and find his strengths in areas of excellence and are eager to learn from him, your boss will think of you as a good employee. Rather than thinking about what gift to give or how to be careful about what you say to make your employees want to look up to you or to make your boss like you, you can actually just discover their strengths and pay more attention to their wonderful qualities. But if the praise is not sincere, they feel only flattered. Or some people get carried away by the fake flattery, and that could have the opposite effect. If you recognize the good qualities of the other person and the words praises come out naturally from your mouth, then the person will like you and try to live up to your expectations without getting carried away by your praises. It's the same with love. When I was a student, I received a letter from a girl saying she always saw me working very hard and acknowledged my efforts. I hadn't been interested in the girl at all before, but I instantly got curious about her. Just because someone recognizes your efforts, or she is always watching your efforts, you can't dislike her, or rather you instantly start to like that person. That's how powerful it is. So, people who can appreciate and recognize a person's efforts and hardships will be loved by others. There is also a passage from the Shiki that a man will die for someone who understands him. People cherish someone who understands, recognizes, and appreciates them, and they are even willing to die for them. As we live in this society, we have to interact with other people. There will be an overwhelming difference in happiness between those who live their lives trying to discover and focus on people's strengths and those who only see people's flaws and criticize them. Today, I talked about the kind of people who can learn from others and are also loved by them. Buddhism also teaches the importance of discovering and focusing on the strengths of others. This is a battle against our own blind passion, that is, the mind of conceit. I told you today that those who strive to do so will be the ones who will be happy and will be able to grow. On this channel, I talk about these topics from a Buddhist perspective. If you think you can learn something or find it interesting, I hope you will subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching today.